Hi guys, this is Preeti and you're watching my dissolution. In this video, I'll be teaching you the chapter Digestion and Absorption, the chapter 16, which is the first chapter in human physiology. Food is a basic requirement of all living organisms. Each and every organism in Earth need food as a major source of energy, that too in the form of ATP. The major components of the food are carbohydrates, proteins and fats. These are mainly required. A small amount of minerals and vitamins are also required in a small quantity. So food will provide energy and organic material for the growth and repair of the body tissues. Each and every cell contains the organelles. Organelles is nothing but they are formed from the food only. So these provides the organic material for the growth and repair of the tissues. The water we take plays an important role in metabolic process. For all the metabolic process, water is required, and to prevent hydration of the body, to prevent dehydration of the body, it's required. It keeps the body hydrated. Biomacromolecules of the food can be utilized in our body in their original form. And they have to be broken down. The food we eat now, that will be complex material that should be broken down into simpler substances. By this is done by the digestive system, which we are studying in this class. The process of conversion of complex substances into easily absorbable substances. Absorbable means the duodenum contains the microvilli. It should be absorbed through that lipid bilayer. That small form is known as digestion. Conversion of a complex substance into simpler substances, digestion. It is carried out by the digestive enzymes by mechanically. It helps in breaking down, and biochemical method by the enzyme method. That is by the acid and enzymes. We will do biochemical method. General organization of human digestive system has been shown in this figure 16.1. That is, initially what we take food, it comes in the oral cavity, that is in the mouth, that is oral cavity. Then it goes into the pharynx, then esophagus, then into the stomach, then duodenum, that is small intestine, duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Then it through the cecum, it enters into the large intestine, colon, ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, and rectum. Then finally through anus it comes out. This is vermiform appendix. It do not have any work in our body. This is a vestigial organ. This is a diagram. Then coming for the digestive system, human digestive system consists of alimentary canal and their associated glands, liver, salivary glands, and all these glands, associated glands. All this is included in human digestive system. First, we'll study about the alimentary canal. The alimentary canal begins in anteriorly, that is front, by the opening mouth, and it opens posteriorly through the anus. Back it opens as a anus. The mouth leads to the buccal cavity. Buccal cavity is also known as oral cavity. Anteriorly it open as a mouth and then ends as a anus. Oral cavity, buccal cavity is also known as oral cavity. The oral cavity has number of teeth and muscular tongue. The tongue is a mobile organ which is present in the oral cavity. Each tooth is embedded in a socket of the jaw bone. Mandible, this is a mandible. Mandible will be having a jaw. This is alveolar process. In this, tooth will be embedded. This type of attachment is called thecodont. The attachment of the teeth in the socket is known as thecodont. And the majority of the mammals, that means including human beings, have two sets of teeth in their life. That is a set of temporary teeth. That temporary teeth is also known as deciduous teeth, which is replaced by the permanent teeth. Permanent teeth is the adult teeth, which will be till our death. As the tooth stays till then, it will be the same teeth. The teeth dentition is known as diphodent. Di means two types of dentition, diphodent. In adult human beings, we have 32 permanent teeth, which are 4 different types. That is, different types is no, so different means heterodont we call. We have incisors, canines, premolars, and molars. The arrangement of teeth in the upper and the lower jaw, that is incisors, canines, premolars, and molars, is represented by the dental formula 2 1 2 3 2 1 2 3. That means 2 incisors, 2 canines, 2 premolars, and 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars, and 3 molars is represented by the dental formula, that is 2 1 2 3 bar 2 1 2 3. That is upper case also we have 2 1 2 3. Lower case also we have 2 1 2 3. It has hard chewing substance, that is known as enamel. Enamel is the hardest substance in our body. It helps in the mastification of a food. That is, for chewing, this will be helpful. Tongue will be freely mobile muscular organ that will be attached to the floor of the oral cavity by frenulum. Which the things which are violating that will be important for the multiple choice. The upper surface of the tongue has small projections called papillae, which base taste buds. On this, taste buds will be there. Papillae may be circumvalent papillae, filiform, fungiform, or foliate papillae. Only filiform papillae won't be having taste buds. Remaining everything will be having taste buds. The oral cavity leads to the short pharynx. Pharynx serves as a common opening for both food and air. Esophagus, food will enter into the esophagus, whereas the air will enter into the trachea, that is windpipe. Then the opening, they open into the pharynx. A cartilaginous flap called epiglottis will cover the glottis, so that it prevents the entry of the food into the windpipe, that is known as aspiration. It prevents aspiration during swallowing. Esophagus is a thin, long tube which extends posteriorly, passing through the neck. This is a neck, thorax, and then diaphragm. It passes the diaphragm and then leads to the J-shaped structure known as stomach. The muscular sphincter, gastroesophageal sphincter. Gastric means stomach part, esophagus. The sphincter in between the esophagus and the stomach is known as gastroesophagus. Always we say from back to front names. Gastroesophageal sphincter. Sphincter regulates the opening of the esophagus into the stomach. The stomach is located in the upper left portion of the abdominal cavity. This is abdominal cavity. This is the upper part, this is lower part, this is left and this is right. So upper left portion, stomach is situated. In the abdominal cavity, it has 4 parts. That is cardiac part towards the heart, the portion which esophagus open, and here the esophagus open. This is a cardiac part. This is a fundus. If we draw a line, this is a fundus above part. And the fundic region, the body is the central main region. Body and the pylorus, where it enters into the small intestine. Pyloric portion which opens into the first part of the small intestine, that is duodenum. Small intestine is indistinguishably divided into 3 regions, that is C-shaped duodenum. Duodenum C-shaped, you can see. And long coiled and middle portion will be jejunum. This will be the longest part and it's highly coiled. And highly coiled helium. Like these are important for MCQs. Highly coiled part will be helium. The longest one will be the middle portion jejunum. C-shape will be duodenum. And the C-shape will be duodenum. The opening of the stomach into the duodenum is guarded by the pyloric sphincter. Here the sphincter was gastroesophageal sphincter. Here the sphincter is pyloric sphincter. Ileum opens into the large intestine. It consists of a cecum. Large intestines, it consists of cecum, colon and rectum. 3 parts. Cecum, colon and rectum. Cecum is a small blind-like sac which hosts for symbiotic microorganisms. That means microorganisms are helpful for human beings and they are also mutually benefited by taking it absorbs the food, and it also provides vitamins and all are produced by these microorganisms present in the cecum, so they are mutually beneficial. A narrow finger-like projection called as a vermiform appendix, which is a vestigial organ which does not have any work in our human being, arises from the cecum. The cecum opens into the colon. Colon is divided into 4 parts: ascending, descending, sigmoid, ascending, descending, transverse and sigmoid. This is ascending, descending, transverse and sigmoid colon. And then the descending parts opens into the rectum, which opens through the anus. This descending part opens into the rectum, then finally opening into the anus. The wall of alimentary canal from esophagus to the rectum, everything is formed by 4 layers, namely innermost will be mucosa. You can see this is a lumen where the food passes. This is the mucosa. Below the mucosa, sub means below. Below the mucosa, submucosa. Then muscularis layer. Muscular layer again 2 will be there. Inner circular and outer longitudinal. Entirely it will be same except that in the stomach which will be having 3 layers. Remaining everywhere it will be inner circular and outer longitudinal. Final last layer will be serosa. So mucosa, submucosa, muscularis and serosa. These are the 4 major parts if we take transverse section. And see, serosa, muscularis, submucosa and mucosa. Serosa is the outermost layer and it is made up of thin mesothelium. Mesothelium is nothing but endothelium of the visceral organs. Visceral organs like kidney, stomach, like all the GIT parts like visceral organ, like small intestine, large intestine, stomach, and all this. It is a connective tissue. Connective tissue, there will be fibroblasts and there will be matrix. Muscularis is formed by the smooth muscles, usually arranged in the circular and outer longitudinal. The oblique, I told now only in stomach there will be oblique muscular layer which is present in some regions, that is in stomach. The mucosal layer is formed by the loose connective tissue containing the nerves, blood vessels, the submucosal layer. Below the mucosa there will be submucosal layer. Their blood vessels will be there, nerves will be there, lymph nodes will be there. All this neurovascular bundle and then lymph nodes will be there. And the duodenum glands will be present in a submucosal layer in duodenum, especially in duodenum. In the submucosal, there will be glands that know the Burnous glands will be there. The innermost layer lining the lumen of the alimentary canal is a mucosa. It forms irregular folds known as rugae in the stomach, whereas villi in the intestine, small finger-like projection villi in the intestine. The cells lining the villi produces numerous microscopic small villi, microvilli. Micro means small villi. On top of villi there will be brush border appear. It appears like a brush. Brush will be having small projections. No, like similarly it will be. It gives brush border appearance to the mucosa. The modification which this instead of straight line like this, instead of this straight line, it will be like this. So it increases surface area for the absorption. It can absorb here instead of this small straight line. So it will be having enormous surface area which increases the absorption. Villi are supplied with a network of capillaries. You can see these are the capillaries with large lymph vessels called as lecithin. Lecithin is a large lymphatic channel. Mucosal epithelium will be having goblet cells which secrete mucus, so that mucus will be there. Now after stomach food coming from the stomach, which will be acidic food, mucus it will be alkaline, so it neutralizes and it also helps in lubrication. Lubrication it helps in passing easily. Mucosa is formed also forms glands in the stomach that are known as gastric glands which secrete HCl. There will be crypts in between the base of villi. These are crypts. The depressions are known as crypts. Crypts called crypts of Libercan. All four layers shows modification in different parts of the alimentary canal. As I told, duodenum in submucosa there will be having Brunner's glands. Now we'll coming about I'll explain the diagrams which are there. Then I will go to the next part, that is gland part. There are no diagrams in this page. Here, mouth, oral cavity or buccal cavity. This is a mouth, and then parotid gland. There are three glands, major salivary glands, three glands: parotid gland, sublingual and submandibular gland. Other glands also present in the pharynx for soft palate and all palate. Those are minor. This thing, pharynx is a common opening for both food pipe and windpipe. This is a esophagus, a small muscular tube running from this pharynx to the stomach. This is two sphincters will be there, pyloric sphincter. This is a gastroesophageal sphincter. Then where it opens, that is cardiac part. Above that fundus will be the large part will be the body. Then pyloric part will be there. Then C-shaped duodenum and then jejunum. Then highly coiled ileum. Then it enters into the cecum, which is a part of large intestine, ascending colon, descending colon, transverse colon, sigmoid colon. Then it enters into rectum, then finally opens into the anus. This is a vestigial organ, vermiform appendix, which part I left. This is a liver, which is a largest gland, where bile is produced, and then it is stored in the gallbladder, which will be having cystic duct. This is about this diagram. Then coming for the dentition, the part you will be having incisors, two incisors, one canine. You have formula na 2 1 2 3 by 2 1 2 3. Incisors, canines, premolars and molars. Incisors will be 2, canine 1, premolars again 2, canine molars will be 3 molars. There will be sockets, teeth will be present in this. So this type of arrangement is called thecodont. And we have different types of teeth, so this is known as heterodont. And childhood teeth is called as deciduous teeth, or childhood teeth that is replaced by the permanent teeth. So we have by diphodont. Diphodont means we have two types of teeth, that is permanent teeth and deciduous teeth. is the esophagus, where opens into the part is known as cardiac part, where it opens into the stomach. Above part will be the fundus, the body largest part, and the pyloric part, which opens into the duodenum, superior portion of the duodenum. Duodenum will be C-shaped. Then entire GIT, if we cut like this, the cross section will be having mucosa, below the mucosa, submucosa, then muscularis, and then serosa. Again, muscularis will be divided into inner circular, outer longitudinal. In stomach there will be oblique layer also. This is a microvilli. Microvilli will be having brush border appearance. This is villi on top of that there will be microvilli. Villi, again capillaries will be running, so that whatever the food is digested, that should be absorbed. Lecithin is the largest lymphatic duct. The capillaries will be there, interconnection between the arteries and veins. There will be crypts of Leberkan. The crypts in between the and this is the crypts of Leberkan. In between the base of the villi, this is a villi, base of the villi there will be crypts, that now crypts of Leberkan. Now coming for the digestive glands. Digestion is associated with the alimentary canal, include the salivary gland. Salivary gland will be present in the mouth, that includes sublingual, submandibular, and the parotid gland. And the liver and the pancreas. Liver is the largest gland. Saliva is mainly produced by the three pairs of salivary glands, that is parotid gland in the cheek. You saw no, in the cheek there will be parotid gland. And submaxillary, that is below the maxilla there will be submaxillary or submandibular gland. Below the mandible, that is lower jaw. The lower jaw, this is the only mobile part in human, in face, in the skull. And the sublingual, sub means below, the lingual means tongue, below the tongue. The glands situated outside the buccal cavity secrete salivary juice into the buccal cavity. These are present outside the buccal cavity, and they will secrete everything into the buccal cavity. Liver is the largest gland, as I already told, and it weighs 1.2 kg in females and 1.5 kg in males. The average we can take as a a range we can say as 1.2 to 1.5 kgs in adult human. It is situated in the abdominal cavity. As you can see, this is the abdominal cavity. It is situated in the abdominal cavity, right side. Just below the diaphragm, see, just below the diaphragm, this liver is there, and it has two lobes, right lobe and left lobe. This is the right lobe, this is the left lobe. Hepatic lobules are the structural and functional unit of the hepatic cell. They are arranged in the form of codes. Hepatic lobules will be there. I will teach you that in other video. And each lobule is covered by the thin connective tissue called Gilson capsule will be there on the liver. And bile secreted by the hepatic cells, it produces a bile which passes through the hepatic duct, that is the ducts from the hepatic is nothing but liver, and it is so concentrated in the thick as I told now, it will be after secretion it goes into the gallbladder where the concentration takes place. It is stored and concentrated in a thin muscular sac known as gallbladder. The duct of gallbladder is a cystic duct. Along with the hepatic duct of the liver, it forms a common bile duct. See, this is a gallbladder, the duct from the gallbladder, which is known as cystic duct, and these two are ducts from the liver, right lobe and one from left lobe. Both forms common hepatic duct. Right hepatic duct, left hepatic duct, common hepatic duct. Along with the cystic duct, it forms common bile duct. Common bile duct opens into the duodenum, that is also second part of the duodenum. This is the duodenum, first part, second part, third part, and fourth part will be there. There will be 4 parts in duodenum. These are ducts from right hepatic duct, left hepatic duct, common hepatic duct, cystic duct, duct from gallbladder, common bile duct. This is the pancreas. Pancreas will be present in it is sandwiched between the C-shaped duodenum. Then hepatopancreatic, after common bile duct, pancreatic duct also will join. So hepatopancreatic duct it will be. The hepatic duct from the liver forms common bile duct. The bile duct and the pancreatic duct open together in the duodenum as a common hepatic duct, which is guarded by the sphincter called sphincter of Oddi. This is the sphincter of Oddi. This part is a sphincter of Oddi. The pancreas is a compound gland because it is both exocrine and endocrine. Endocrine means it secretes hormones directly into the blood, that is insulin and glucagon. Where it is exocrine, it secretes enzymes. Elongated, it is situated in between the C-shape of the duodenum. The exocrine gland secretes alkaline peptic juice that contains enzymes, whereas endocrine portion secretes hormones, that is insulin and glucagon directly into the blood, means we say endocrine, whereas it is secretes hormones, that is known as exocrine through the ducts. Now coming for the digestion of this picture, I'll explain. Here liver will be there. From right lobe there will be right hepatic duct. From left to left hepatic duct, it both forms common hepatic duct. Then from the cystic duct forms common bile duct. Common bile duct along with the pancreatic duct, it forms hepatopancreatic duct. This is the duodenum. Pancreas will be present. This is the pancreatic duct. Common hepatic duct. Common bile duct. This is the duct from the gallbladder, that is cystic duct. All labelings I have explained you. Now coming for the digestion of the food. In order to digest, there will be mechanical process and chemical process also. Buccal cavity performs the two mastification function, which is a mechanical, and facilitates swallowing. There will be teeth and the tongue, which helps in the mastification of food. Food is mixed throughoutly. Mucosa helps in lubricating and adhering the masticated food particles into the bolus. The food which is coming out from the mouth is known as a bolus. The bolus, when it is conveyed into the pharynx, then esophagus by swallowing and deglutition. First we are taking the food, it undergo mechanical and chemical process, it forms a bolus that is carried into the pharynx and then esophagus. The mucus secreted here, it helps in lubrication. This is coming like this. This process like of sending this thing, swallowing is also known as deglutition. Swallowing, you don't know, everyone knows swallowing. That the other term is the deglutition. It will be initially this voluntary and then it becomes involuntary. The bolus further passes down into the esophagus by successive wave of muscular contraction called as a peristalsis. There will be this part will be, I think here bolus will be coming, this will be relaxing, this will be contracting, so this will be contracting, so that it will be pushing the food for further. This movement is known as peristalsis movement. Then the gastroesophageal sphincters control the passage of food into the stomach. Here there will be gastroesophageal sphincter. This will be controlling the food entering into the gastric juice. Then the saliva is secreted in the oral cavity, contains this ions. That is how you have to remember this now for exam. You can remember salt, NaCl, potassium, bicarbonate. NaCl, potassium bicarbonate, and the enzymes also. Lysozyme is the enzyme which will be present in saliva. Salivary amylase is also enzyme. Anything which ends in ACE is known as enzyme. Salivary amylase and lysosome will be present in the saliva. Chemical process is initiated in the oral cavity by hydrolytic action of the carbohydrate splitting enzyme, that is salivary amylase. The pH of the saliva is 6.8. Salivary amylase, I told anything which ends in ACE is known as enzyme. It splits the starch which is a polysaccharide into maltose, which is a disaccharide. About 30% of the starch is hydrolyzed in the stomach hereby with a pH of 6.8 into disaccharide, that is known as maltose. Lysosomal enzyme which is present in the saliva acts as an antibacterial agent, because so that the dogs will be licking their wounds. It prevents from infections. So a few people will keep their saliva onto the pimples and all, so it prevents the bacterial Pimples are also caused by the bacteria, so they'll keep. The mucosa of the stomach has gastric glands. There are three types of major types of cells. They are known as mucous neck cells, peptic cells or chief cells, parietal or oxantic cells. The secretions you need to remember: mucous neck cells, as the name says, it secretes mucus. Then peptic cells, or peptic means like peptic ulcer, that because of the HCl. And the HCl will be secreted by the parietal cells or oxantic cells. You need to remember parietal cells and oxantic cells secrete HCl and intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor is required for the absorption of vitamin B12 because they forms a complex, and this is a vitamin B12 is absorbed in the ileum. So for the absorption of vitamin B12 we need intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor and HCl both are secreted from the parietal cells or oxantic cells. Peptic cells or chief cells secrete the proenzyme known as pepsinogen. In stomach stores food for 4 to 5 hours. Then food mixed throughoutly with a gastric acid secreted by the stomach's parietal cell. And then this movement is known as churning movement. Before movement, what we say is peristalsis movement, where the esophagus was sending the bolus. That movement is known as peristalsis. Here stomach churning movement will be there, where the muscular wall, and it is known as after it is coming out of the stomach, it is known as chyme. After coming from the mouth, that is known as bolus. The proenzyme pepsinogen, on exposure to hydrochloric acid, it converts into active enzyme pepsin. You can see The proenzyme, the pepsinogen, all gens will be the proenzyme is before converting the inactive form of enzyme. Pepsinogen is converted into pepsin by the and the proteolytic enzyme in the of the stomach. This is a pepsin is a proteolytic. Proteolytic, it breaks the proteins. Lytic means breaking. Proteolytic, it breaks the proteins in the stomach. Pepsin converts proteins into proteases and peptones. You can see these proteins, peptones and peptides. This will be again further decomposed in the duodenum. Now in stomachs proteins are digested, like proteins are converted into peptones, so the amino acid chains. Peptide means amino acid chain. The mucus and the bicarbonate present in the gastric juice place. The mucus and the bicarbonates present in the gastric juice plays an important role in lubrication and protection of the mucosal epithelium, because this will be acidic. No, stomach contents will be acidic. It protects from excoriation by the highly concentrated hydrochloric acid. Mucus and alkaline condition, that will be lubricated. Helps us. Mucus helps us lubrication and also protects from the acid. HCl provides acidic pH. In stomach, the pH will be 1.8, so it will be very strong acid. And the optimal, which will be optimal for pepsin. So proteins are digested. A major breakdown of proteins takes place in the stomach. Renin is a proteolytic enzyme. This is secreted by the gastric juice in infants. It helps in the digestion of milk proteins. Milk contains proteins, so that digestion renin helps in the digestion of milk proteins, and a small amount of lipases secreted by the gastric gland. Lipases helps in the digestion of the lipids. Then various movements are generated by the muscularis mucosa of small intestine. These movements help mixing the food throughout by various secretion in the intestine and thereby facilitate digestion. The bile, pancreatic juice and intestinal juice are the secretions released by the small intestine. Bile juice is secreted from the hepatocyte, that is liver cells, and then that is stored and concentrated in the gallbladder. Then pancreas secretes pancreatic juice, which is it contains enzymes. This is a ectocrine gland. As an exocrine gland, it secretes the pancreatic juice and intestinal juice. These are released in the small intestine. Pancreatic juice and bile juice are released through the hepatopancreatic duct, which I already showed you. Then pancreatic juice contains inactive enzymes known as trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptidase, amylase, lipase, and nuclease. First, trypsinogen is activated by trypsin by the enzyme enterokinase. Enterokinase helps in the activation of trypsinogen into trypsin. Then this trypsin in turn activates all other enzymes in the pancreatic juice. The bile released into the duodenum contains bile pigments known as bilirubin and bilirubinemia. Bilirubin and bilirubinemia and bile salts, cholesterol, all this will be the pigments. Bilirubin, bilirubinemia. Bilirubin will be increased in case of jaundice, and all the whitish part will convert into yellow color. And the phospholipids, but no enzymes will be there. This point you need to remember, there will be no enzyme in the pancreatic juice. Bile acid helps in emulsification. Emulsification means nothing but breaking of fats. That is breaking of the fats into smaller micelles. And bile activates lipases also. The intestinal mucosal epithelium has goblet cells which secretes the mucus. The secretion of the brush-bordered mucus along with the secretion of the goblet continues to sulcus centricus. Now, the secretion of the brush-bordered cell, that is villi, along with the secretion of the goblet cells, both known as sulcus centricus. The juice contains variety of enzymes like disaccharidase, that is disaccharide means maltase, which breaks down the maltose, dipeptidase, which break down the peptide, lipase, which break down the lipids, nucleotidase, which break down DNA and RNA. The mucus along with the bicarbonate of the pancreas protects the intestinal mucosa from acid, as well as provide alkaline medium, that is 7.8. So it neutralizes the acid and it will be helpful for the enzymatic activity also. Submucosal glands called as Brunner's gland will be present in the duodenum, that is submucous of the duodenum contains Brunner's gland. The proteins, proteases and peptones are partially hydrolyzed partially hydrolyzed proteins in the chyme, reaching the intestine, acted upon the proteolytic enzyme and in the pancreatic juice that is given. Like the proteins will be broken down in the stomach into proteose and proteases. This will be acted by the trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase into the dipeptides, that is amino acids. Carbohydrates in the chyme, that is chyme means which is the food which is coming after stomach is known as chyme, are hydrolyzed into by the pancreatic amylase which break down the carbohydrates. So polysaccharides are broken down into disaccharide by amylase. The fats are broken down into lipase with the help of the bile and dimonoglycerides. Fats will be acted on the lipase and forms diglycerides, then monoglycerides. Nucleases in the pancreatic juice acted on nucleic acid, that is DNA and RNA, to form nucleotides, because nucleic acid, DNA or RNA contains nucleotides as a basic units. Nucleotides means phosphate plus sugar plus nitrogen base, where no phosphate in the nucleoside. So again there will be broken down into the nucleosides. The enzyme in the circus centricus acts on the end products to form the above reaction, to form the respective simple observable form. The final steps of the digestion are very close to the mucosal epithelium cells in the lining, because they have to absorb. Now after this final steps, these simplest substances is need to absorb through the mucosa. So this will be very close to the mucosa. Dipeptides means it will be having two amino acids, is broken down into amino acids by dipeptidase. ACE means enzyme. Maltose will be broken down by maltase. Lactose will be broken by lactase. Sucrose will be broken by sucrase. Nucleotide by nucleotidase. Nucleoside by nucleosidase. Nucleosides will be having sugar and base, whereas this will be having phosphate group PO4 3 minus. This will go out. And monoglycerides by glycerides are nothing but lipids will break down into free fatty acids and glycerol. The breakdown of biomolecules mentioned above occurs in the duodenum, the region of the small intestine. The simplest substances thus formed are absorbed by the jejunum and the ileum, region of the small intestine. The undigested or unabsorbed food passes into the large intestine. Whatever the food will be broken down and absorbed, broken down by the food when it enters into the duodenum, but absorption takes place in jejunum and ileum. The unabsorbed food will enter into the large intestine. Then no significant digestion occurs in the large intestine, no digestion will be there, and the functions of the large intestine are absorption of some water and certain drugs, secretion of mucus, which helps in the lubrication, adhering the waste and particles together and lubricating for the easy passage. The passage is known as defecation. The undigested unabsorbed food is known as the fecus, that enters into the cecum of the large intestine, then ileocecal valve. From ileum it enters cecum. This is the ileum, terminal part of the small intestine, then it enters cecum, ileocecal valve. There will be a valve here, ileocecal valve. Through ileocecal valve, it enters into the large intestine, which prevents the backflow of the fecal matter. The temporary stored into the rectum, then defecation, that is throwing out the waste. The activities of the gastrointestinal tract are under the neural control and hormonal control. Local neural control and hormonal control will be there for proper coordination different parts. The sight smell, because as soon as you see the food, you start watering, that is salivating, and the smell also will make you salivate. If you think of, and the thought also will make, if you think of the tamarind also, you will get salivation. The presence of food in the oral cavity also stimulates the secretion, so you need to watch the food and while having, so the secretions will be proper. You should not watch for mobile and then have. You can stimulate the secretion of the saliva. Gastric and intestinal secretions also will be stimulated by the sight, by thought, and by the smell. Similar stimulation by the neural signals also will be there. The local stimulus also will be there. Muscular activity, different parts of the alimentary can also be modified neuronal mechanism, because muscle stretching, as the food enters, the muscle stretching also will stimulate by the local as well as through the CNS. Then CNS, the vagal stimulation will increase the secretion. Hormonal control of the secretion of the digestive juice is carried by the local hormones produced by the gastric and intestinal mucosa. Both will produce the hormones that also helps in digestion. The energy requirement of the animals, and we need to calculate the calorific value of proteins, carbohydrates, and fat. Fat will be having more caloric value than proteins, than carbohydrates. Energy requirement of the animals, the energy content of the food are expressed in terms of measure of heat, that is heat is the ultimate form of all energies. It is often used to measure as a calorie or joule, which is the amount of heat required to raise 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Since the value is tiny amount of energy, physiologists, so they as this is very small, they used to calculate as kilocalories or kilojoules. 1 kilocalorie is the amount of energy required to raise 1 kg of water by 1 degree Celsius. Nutritionists traditionally refer kilocalories or kilojoules or joules as capitalized. If it is a J or C, this should be capital letter. The amount of heat liberated from one complete combustion of 1 gram of food in a bomb calorimetry, we measure in the bomb calorimetry the closed metal chamber with oxygen, is known as calorific or energetic value. The actual amount of energy consumption for that is known as physiological value. What we measure is known as gross caloric value of this proteins is 4.1. Like for carbohydrates is 4.1, proteins 5.65, and fats will be 9.48. But whereas physiological value what we calculate is 4, 4 and 9. But this is the actual value, this is the physiological value what we calculate. And this is all about calorific value. Calorific value is nothing but how much heat is produced by the consumption, like burning of that food. That is measured in calories or joules. That means the amount of energy required to raise 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. That will be 1 calorie or 1 joule. That will be, as that is a very small quantity, we need to take as a kilojoule or kilocalorie. Now coming for the absorption products. Absorption is nothing but the process in which the end products or digestion passes into the intestinal mucosa, then into the blood. Finally, it should go into the blood or lymph. This is known as absorption. It is carried out by, it may be passive, without energy, active with the utilization of ATP, or facilitated transport without energy, but still it requires carrier proteins mechanism. Anything it may be. Small amount of monosaccharides, like monosaccharides is having only single unit of sugar, that is glucose. Amino acids are nothing but proteins, single unit. And some electrolytes like chloride ions are generally absorbed by simple diffusion, like glucose, amino acids and chloride absorbed by the simple diffusion. The passage of these substances into the blood depends upon the concentration. If concentration gradient is more, then it absorbs more. If the thickness of the membrane is thin, its absorption is fast. However, some substances like glucose and amino acids are absorbed with the help of the carrier protein, that is the facilitated diffusion by mechanism of facilitated transport. Transport of water depends upon the osmotic gradient. This through osmosis water is absorbed. Active transport is caused against the concentration gradient, hence they require energy. ATP is utilized, so this is known as active transport. Various nutrients like amino acids, monosaccharides like glucose, electrolytes like sodium are absorbed through the blood by this mechanism. Fatty acids and glycerol being insoluble, they are not soluble, they cannot be absorbed directly, so they need to be break down first incorporated into the small droplets called as micelles. That is known as the process of this emulsification we call, and which then move into the intestinal mucosa, then reformed into small protein coated fatty globules known as chylomicrons. Then they are transported into the lymphatic vessels. As I showed, there will be lecithials, which are the largest lymph vessels near the base of the villi. These are the lecithials. After they were formed into the chylomicrons, they are taken into the lecithial, that is lymphatic vessels, and then into the villi. The lymph vessels ultimately release the absorbed substances into the bloodstream. Absorption of the substances takes place in the different parts of the alimentary canal, like in mouth also they can be absorbed, stomach also they can be, some will be absorbed in small intestine and large intestine. However, maximum absorption in the small intestine because it will be having large surface area. The summary of absorption will be given in this table. Mouth, certain drugs like drugs for glycerol trinitrate, drug for angina pectoralis is absorbed, which will be kept under the mouth, like tongue. This will be absorbed when it comes in contact with the mucosa of the stomach, and on lower side of the tongue they are absorbed into the blood capillaries. There will be deep lingual veins known as deep lingual veins. They are absorbed here, and some substances are absorbed in the stomach. Absorption of water and simple sugars and alcohol etc. takes place in the stomach. And some substances are absorbed in the most of the substances will be absorbed in the large intestine, and large amount will be absorbed. Principal organ for absorption of the nutrients. The digestion is completed here. The final products completed here. The final products such as glucose, fructose, fatty acid, all simpler products, glycerol, amino acids are absorbed through the mucosa into the bloodstream and into the lymph. Most of the substances will be absorbed in the small intestine. Large intestine, only absorption of water and drugs, certain drugs, minerals will take place here. The absorbed substances finally reaches the tissues. Then from the blood it reaches the tissue and utilize them for further activities. This process known as assimilation. There will be ingestion. Ingestion means taking of the food. Digestion, the breaking of food into the smaller particles. Absorption, which is taking the digested like smaller simpler particles into the blood, is known as absorption. Then assimilation, giving to the tissues, and then utilizing is known as assimilation. The digestive waste solidifies with coherent feces in the rectum, then initiates the neural reflex so that there will be defecation, absorbed, desired for its removal. The egestion of feces into the outside is now after the anal opening is known as defecation. It is a voluntary process. You will get like bowel movements you can feel, and with a massive peristaltic movement, it will be defecated out. The disorders of digestive system will be, there will be inflammation of the intestinal tract. Inflammation is nothing but there will be swelling, redness, there will be neutrophil infiltration and all that you will learn later. There will be inflammation in the intestinal tract. This is known as common element due to the bacteria. There may be bacteria or viral infections will be there. However, there will be bacterial like mutually beneficial bacteria will be present in the cecum and all. If that enters into the other, that will be a common place for them to stay. If that enters in the respiratory tract, that only become an infection. So this is not common here, that if it enters into some other place, that will become infection. The infections are also called as a parasitic, as the intestine, like tapeworm, roundworm, threadworm, hookworm, pinworm, all they are parasites of the intestine, because they live in the intestine. They take human as a host, and then they stay there, and then they derive their nutrition. So that jaundice liver will be affected. There will be bilirubin in the bile, no, that should be conjugated. If liver is affected, there won't be conjugation of this bilirubin. Then the bilirubin will be exposed whenever there is a fair area, like a paler area, there will be bilirubin will be exposed in the sclera of the eye and in the skin. That bilirubin color is yellow color, so it all turns into the yellow color due to the deposition of bilirubin pigment. Pigment means nothing but it gives color. So bile pigment, it will be yellow color. So wherever the whitish area, like nail beds and in the palms, soles, and in sclera, you will feel yellow. You will see yellow color. And vomiting, it is the ejection of the stomach contents through the mouth. There will be failure of this sphincter closing, and all the food contents in the stomach, it will be ejected through the mouth. This is known as vomiting. It's a reflex action. Controls the mouth. This is a reflex action. It is controlled by the vomit center, which will be present in the medulla. We feel nausea, like before vomiting we feel some sensation, that is known as nausea. Diarrhea is nothing but abnormal bowel movement. There will be increased frequency, number of times we go also will increase, and liquidity is also increased. Is known as diarrhea. It reduces the absorption of the food, as everything will be everything comes out very quickly, so it decreases the absorption. And constipation means we are not able to defecate. That is known as constipation. In constipation, fecus is retained in the colon, no bowel movement will be there, or else there will be irregular bowel movement, so we cannot be defecated. And indigestion means in this condition food is not properly digested, leading to the feeling we feel fullness. When we eat so much junk food, we feel indigestion. The cause for indigestion is inadequate enzyme secretion will be there, and anxiety will be there, food poisoning, maybe because of toxins or bacteria, or overeating or spicy food. All this causes indigestion. And this is all about still PEM is there. It is protein energy malnutrition. This is a dietary deficiency of protein or the total food calories, widespread in many underdeveloped countries like South East Asia and South and Southeast Asia, South America, West and Central Asia. Protein energy malnutrition may affect the large sections of the population through drought, famine, and political tumor. Because of these are the causes. This happened in Bangladesh during the liberty of war in Ethiopia, and it also brought mild 80s. PEM affects infants and children to produce marasmus and kwashiorkor. Marasmus is both energy and protein deficiency, whereas in kwashiorkor only there will be protein deficiency. Marasmus is produced simultaneously deficiency of proteins and calories also. It is found in infants less than 1 year, because they are replaced by the mother's milk is replaced by the some other foods which are poor in both proteins and calorie value. They often happen if the mother has a second pregnancy, will be very early than the second pregnancy, or the childbirth of the older infant is still too young. The marasmus and the protein the protein deficiency impairs the growth and replacement of the protein tissue, and extreme emasculation of the body and the thinning of the limbs results in the skin becoming very dry and thin and wrinkled. the growth rate and the body weight decline considerably. Even growth and development of the brain, mental, everything will be impaired. Kwashiorkor is produced due to the protein deficiency, and it is accompanied by the, it is not accompanied by the calorie deficiency. This is the replacement of the mother milk with high calorific protein diet. So calorie deficient, only low protein diet. High calorie, low protein diet is replaced, so protein will be less and the calorie will be okay. In these children with more than 1 year, they will give more calories, so proteins won't be there. In marasmus and kwashiorkor shows the wasting of the muscles, both will be having common feature. Thinning of the limbs, failure of the growth, growth of the brain, growth and brain development won't be there. But unlikely in marasmus, fat is still left. In marasmus, there will be still fat under the skin. No, marasmus, we won't see any fat under the skin, whereas in kwashiorkor only protein deficiency is there, but calorie no problem, no, so fat will be there in marasmus. And edema, you can see swelling of the body parts, like stomach will be like balloon shaped, stomach will be coming front, that you can see swelling of the stomach. This is all about the digestion and absorption chart. Quickly I'll say highlighted things. So finally we need to know only highlighted things before going to the exam. We need to revise and then go. There will be two openings. Anteriorly will be the mouth and posteriorly will be the anus, and the oral cavity is also known as buccal cavity. Thecodont is nothing but the tooth will be set in the socket is known as thecodont, and we have two set of teeth that is known as diplodont, and that is permanent teeth or adult teeth, and deciduous teeth or temporary teeth. There are two types known as diplodont. And we have the food, which oral cavity is also known as buccal cavity, mouth, and then it goes into the pharynx. There are three glands: parotid gland, sublingual gland, submandibular gland. Then it enters into the esophagus, which is a thin tube. Then the sphincter regulating the entry of food into the stomach is known as gastroesophageal sphincter. Then into the pylorus, it enters into the small intestine, that is duodenum. Through the pyloric sphincter. The parts of the stomach will be the cardiac part where it opens, then fundus, then the large burst part will be the body, and then the pylorus part, then the C-shaped duodenum, then the largest part will be jejunum, highly coiled ileum. Then ileum, it enters into cecum through ileocecal junction. Ileocecal valves will be there that prevents the back of the food, undigested food. Then it enters into the colon. Colon will be having four parts: ascending, transverse, descending, and sigmoid colon. Then into the rectum. The final opening will be the anus, and other glands will be the glands of the digestive system will be the pancreas, liver, and salivary glands. Salivary glands, three major glands: parotid gland, sublingual, and submandibular gland. Minor glands will be present in the soft palate, pharynx, and in the opening of the esophagus. We have 32 pairs of teeth, and each will be different. Where for that, in that also 4 types of teeth will be there. So we call as heterodont. The formula for the 4 types of teeth are incisors, canines, premolars, and molars. Incisors 2 will be there in the uppercase and in the lower case. So 2, 1, 2, 3. Incisors 2, canine 1, again premolars 2, and molars 3. And hardest substance of the teeth is enamel. Like a tongue will be attached. Tongue is a mobile structure which is attached to the frenulum, and it will be having papillae. Papillae will contain taste buds. So there are taste buds, foliate, filiform. These are papillae. Foliate, papillae, filiform, circumvallate, and fungiform. Only filiform won't be having taste buds. Then oral cavity, then it enters into the pharynx, which will be common opening for both for air and then food. Then food will enter into the esophagus, air will enter into the trachea. There will be glottis. To prevent, there will be epiglottis. Epi means above. Glottis, it will during the swallowing, it closes the glottis so that it prevents the entry of the food into the windpipe. That is, it prevents aspiration. And the stomach will be J-shaped. The upper part where it opens, the esophagus opens, is known as cardiac, and then the fundus part, body part is large part, and then pyloric. Then will be C-shaped duodenum. Then middle part is jejunum, highly coiled ileum. There will be pyloric sphincter, which regulates the food entry into the duodenum. And large intestine, 3 parts will be the cecum, colon, and rectum. In the cecum, there will be symbiotic microorganisms. That means microorganisms are beneficial to us, and also they get benefit by taking our food. There will be vermiform appendix, which is a vestigial organ. Then thin mesothelium, the outermost serosa will be the thin mesothelium. Mesothelium is nothing but epithelium of the visceral organs. It will be having connective tissue. Then again, the muscular layer is divided into 2 layers in the circular and outer longitudinal. And only in stomach there will be oblique layer will be present. In the submucosa there will be loose connective tissue which will be containing nerves, blood vessels and lymph nodes. Duodenum in submucosa we will be having glands called as Brunner's glands, and the mucosa will be having folds, irregular folds in the stomach known as rugae, and in the intestine there will be folds known as villi. Villi again it contains microvilli which will be gives brush border appearance. Again in mucosa there will be goblet cells which secretes the mucosa. Mucosa helps in lubrication. Then again gastric glands near the base of the villi there will be have crypts known as crypts of Lieberkühn. Arteries and veins are joined by the capillaries. Here there will be so much vasculation because all the digested food should be absorbed into the blood, so there will be more vasculature will be there in the villi. And the lecital, which is the largest lymphatic channel, the cross section shows the 4 layers, that is mucosa inside, below mucosa, submucosa, then muscularis layer in the circular and outer longitudinal, and finally serosa will be the outermost layer. This is lumen. The folds is known as villi. The glands, if you come, salivary glands, liver and pancreas. Salivary glands are 3, parotid glands which will be present in the cheek, submandibular and submaxillary. Mandibular means lower jaw, sub means below the lower jaw, and sublingual below the tongue. Liver is the largest gland. It weighs 1.2 to 1.5 kg. It will be having 2 lobes, major lobes, right and left lobe, and there will be hepatic lobules. Thin covering of the liver will be Gilson capsule. Bile and hepatic cells secretes the bile, and it is stored and concentrated in the gallbladder. Then from gallbladder a duct comes known as cystic duct, and from hepatic 2 ducts will come, that is right and left hepatic duct, then common hepatic duct, then from gallbladder cystic duct, both opens into the opens as a common bile duct, then join with the pancreatic duct and forms hepatopancreatic duct, that is open into the second part of the duodenum. Then digestion process, it has a 2 process, mechanical and chemical process. The mastification of food is known as mastification of food is with the help of teeth and tongue. Swallowing is also known as deglutition. The food which is coming out of the mouth is known as a bolus, and the movement in the esophagus is known as peristalsis. The ions which are secreted in the saliva are sodium, chloride, potassium and bicarbonate. There are 2 enzymes which are secreted in the saliva, that is salivary amylase, which helps in the digestion of saliva contains enzymes known as salivary amylase and lysozyme, and the ions secreted are sodium, chloride, potassium and bicarbonate. Salivary amylase splits the carbohydrates. Nearly 30% of the starch is digested in the mouth by the salivary amylase, and there will be active bacterial agent, that is lysosome. It prevents infection. Starch is broken down into disaccharide, that is maltose, by salivary amylase with a 6.8 pH. Gastric glands, there are 3 types of cells. In stomach there are 3 types of cells. Mucous neck cells, as the name says, it secretes mucus. Peptic cells or chief cells, it secretes pepsinogen, which is a proenzyme, that is inactive form of enzyme. Parietal or oxyntic cells which secrete HCl and intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor is required for the absorption of vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is absorbed in the helium. Stomach stays 4 to 5 hours in a food stays in 4 to 5 hours in a stomach, and there will be gastric acid secretion, and the movements in the stomach is known as turning movements, and the food coming out of the stomach is known as chyme. Because of exposure to hydrochloric acid, pepsinogen will convert into pepsin, and then pepsin breaks down the proteins into proteases, protons and peptides. The mucosal epithelium is protected by the mucus secreted by this goblet cells or mucous neck cells. The pH of the stomach will be, the pH of the stomach is 1.8. In infants there is a secretion of renin, which is a proenzyme which helps in the digestion of milk proteins. Lipases are also secreted by the gastric glands. Pancreatic juice, bile juice and enteric juice helps in the digestion. These will be secreted through hepatopancreatic duct. The pancreatic juice contains trypsinogen, chymotrypsinogen, carboxylpeptidase, amylase, lipase and nuclease. Trypsinogen is converted into trypsin with the help of enterokinase enzyme. Anything ends in the ase is known as enzyme. Bilirubin and biliverdin are bile salts and cholesterol. This everything will be present, except there won't be any enzymes in the pancreatic juice. Bile helps in the emulsification of fat for forming the and forms small micelles after the emulsification. And goblet cells produces some mucus and brush border secretion. Both are included and forms a circus centricus. There will be maltase, which for the digestion of maltose, dipeptidase, lipase, and all this will be contents of the this circus centricus or intestinal juice. It provides alkaline medium. The food which is coming from the stomach will be acidic, and it will be converted into it will be neutralized by this alkaline medium. and there will be Brunner's glands in the submucosa of the duodenum. The proteins, proteases and peptones are converted into dipeptides, which is the observable form with the help of trypsin, chymotrypsin, and carboxylase. Polysaccharides are broken down into disaccharide by amylase. Fats are broken down into diglycerides, then monoglyceride by lipase. Nucleic acid by nuclease into nucleotides and then nucleosides. Then dipeptides into amino acid, maltose by the help of maltase into glucose, lactose into glucose, galactose, sucrose into glucose and fructose, nucleotides and be converted into nucleosides, then into the sugars and bases. Here phosphate is eliminated. Here phosphate is eliminated, so nucleosides is become again a simpler molecules, di and monoglycerides into fatty acid and glycerol. And duodenum, complete mostly digestion will be occurred in jejunum and ileum. Absorption will be takes with unabsorbed food enter into the large intestine. Then no significant digestion takes place in the large intestine. Only small water and drugs, certain drugs helps in absorption, and it secretes the mucus, which helps in adhering and lubricating this thing. The feces won't return again back into the small intestine by it is guarded by the wall called ileocecal valve. The rectum, the throwing out food is known as defecation. There will be neuronal and hormonal secretion, and even the sight, smell, and smell of the food and the thinking thought of the food will cause a secretion in the oral cavity and in the stomach and everywhere. And so gastric and intestinal secretions also will be influenced under this condition. There will be CNS or local regulation. There will be calorific value for 1 gram of water to raise 1 degree Celsius. How much energy is required to call 1 calorie or 1 joule so that is, as this is a very small quantity, these are we calculate as kilojoules and kilocalories. In a bomb calorimeter will be calculated. Physiological values will be 4.1 for carbohydrates, proteins 5.565 and fats 9.45. But physiological values, what we calculate this what we got in bomb calorimetry, and physiological value 4 and 9 kilocalories per gram. The absorption means that the food, what is so small simpler substances which broken down should enter into the blood or lymph. That may be active, passive, or facilitated. Active with energy, passive without energy, facilitated with the help of proteins. Glucose, amino acid, and chloride simple diffusion. Whereas the carrier proteins are required for glucose and amino acid, those are facilitated diffusion, and water through osmotic gradient. Through osmosis, amino acid, monosaccharide, and glucose, sodium are absorbed by this mechanism, whereas fats are insoluble, so they need to broken down into the simple droplets, then the emulsification into the small micelles, then they form small micelles that are coated by the protein known as chylomicrons. Then they enter into the lecitins, which are largest lymphatic vessels which will be present in the villi, then enter into the bloodstream. Mouth, stomach, everywhere there will be absorption. In the mouth, the certain drugs and which were kept under the tongue all will be absorbed through the mucosa. Then stomach, water, sugars, and alcohol is absorbed. In intestine, major part of the which will be having largest surface area, so complete absorption takes place. Almost all the absorption takes place in the small intestine, whereas large intestine only drugs and water is absorbed. Minerals is absorbed. Assimilation is nothing but the absorbed food is getting into the tissues and then they are utilizing, that is known as assimilation. There will be neuronal defecation is a neuronal reflex, and then it is a voluntary process. Inflammation because of bacteria and virus will cause all the disorders of the digestive system. The parasites which live in our intestine are tapeworm, roundworm, threadworm, hookworm, and pinworm. Jaundice is yellow color pigmentation in the nail bed, skin, sclera, everywhere. Because liver will be affected, there won't be conjugation of the bile pigments, so that is bilirubin and biliverdin. Bilirubin will cause this pigmentation. And then vomiting is the ejection of the stomach content. There will be reflex vomiting center in the medulla, then preceding nauseate form. So the area irregular, more frequency of bowel movement is increased, liquidity of the fecus, so absorption will be decreased. Constipation, there will be irregular bowel movement won't be proper. Indigestion, when you are anxiety, food poisoning, or you eat spicy food, you feel fullness, that is known as indigestion. There will be protein energy malnutrition in underdeveloped countries like Southeast Asia, South and Western countries. There will be a total protein or calories intake will be reduced. Only protein intake is reduced, known as kwashiorkor, marasmus, both protein and calorie. This will be seen in a less than 1 year old. This will be more than 1 year old. This is mother's milk is replaced by the other food particles. This mother's milk is replaced by like a rich calorie but low protein food. There will be swelling and swelling in this thing, and marasma, and certain like fat will left under this thing. With this will be very thin, lean body. There will be edema in this. There won't be edema in this. This is all about the chapter digestion and absorption. If you find this video helpful, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel, and if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comment section. Thank you.